Welcome to Evergreen Speedway's Home Track Heroes on CW11.
Well, sit back, relax, and enjoy, because for the next 2 hours, you are locked into Evergreen Speedway and Home Track Heroes here on the CW11. Glad to have you in with us. We have got a ton of fun on the way for you here on a Sunday afternoon. My name is Caleb Hart. Mackenzie Dietz occupying the co-pilot chair today. Mackenzie, welcome into the show. First broadcasting experience for you, so that'll be kind of fun. First chance to be here on Home Track Heroes. And, I mean, it's just cars making laps, right? It's going to be a good time. It's easy, I'm telling you.
Yep, absolutely, and I'm super excited to be here, so thank you.
We've got a packed schedule for you guys tonight. We have got Interstate Batteries Hornets, we've got the Speedway Chevrolet Pro Late models, Frank's Radio Outlaw Figure 8 division, Stinger 8's also on the card, and the BECU Mini Stock. So 5 classes. Now, Mackenzie, you're our Figure 8 expert. We have never had a Figure 8 driver here on the show. Have you driven anything other than your Superstock Figure 8, or has that been the Lone Ranger for you as far as division goes?
As far as divisions, that's definitely been the Lone Ranger. I've had, a little bit of practice in some Hornets and, played in that class, and it's just so much fun, and it was such a blast. But definitely, Scarlett's been my car for the last 7 years.
All right. Well, we're going to lean on you when it comes time for all the Figure 8 racing that we're going to see a little bit later, albeit slightly different divisions. But, hey, you're making right and left-hand turns. There's all got to be some similarity to it. Right now, we've got to get you to the track. It's the Interstate Battery Hornets that are leading our show off today, and they are going on the boot. There is a flock of Hornets, or a hive full of Hornets, however the heck you want to say it. Let's tell you who all your drivers are going to be. The front row, it's the 717. That is Diesel Snyder. He's sponsored by Hair Inc. Next to him, it's Matt Snyder. Granite Falls Community Chiropractic, the sponsor on the 15 car.
In the second row, we have 163 of Annika Duncan, sponsored by the Misfit Motorsports. And next to her is the 28 of Ethan Payne.
Row number 3 is the unsponsored row, the 87 of Steve Wilkes. Right next to him, car number 23, driven by Tammy White.
And in the next row, we have 16D of Brady Smith and 98 of Tommy Hibbs, sponsored by his wife, Candy.
In the 5th row, Pat Folger in the Olympia Pizza number 30, and Dan Miller, the 00 Exterior Wall Systems Incorporated.
And in the next row, we have 025 of Trent Gillespie, sponsored by Burger Madness. 81 of Bobby Fisher, sponsored by North Sound Fence.
The row behind them's a good one. Your defending track champion, Ryan Hausenfluck, in the Cornerstone Homes number 33, starts on the inside. To the outside of him, the multi-talented, versatile Zach Bristol in the 07, sponsored by PMS Power Decals.
And in the 8th row, we have the 77 of Christian Miller, sponsored by Turbo Espresso. And next to him, we have 49 of Calvin Miller, sponsored by the Northwest Poly Services out of Marysville, Washington.
The row in behind them is Tegan Bjornson, Misfit Motorsports sponsors car number 59. And next to Tegan, it's Brad Gruhl in the G2.
And in the last row, we have the 88 of Garrett Kramer, sponsored by Northwest Security and Sound, and the 06 of Chuck Fisher. And followed behind him is the 17 of Owen Craig.
Well, our Speedway Chevrolet new Camaro pace car is on the track here for Evergreen Speedway, leading the Hornets around. The Hornet division is our stock 4-cylinder division. These cars not supposed to have an abundance of modification, not supposed to have abundance of engine work or suspension, etc. It's supposed to be a car that you race, not necessarily a race car. That means the handling's not always going to be the best on them, and they are up for an adventure here on the first time this year on what we call the boot. And you can see the path that they're going to be taking coming to the A main event as the caution lights are still on, so it looks like we'll have at least one more pace lap coming in and around the racetrack. Drivers in the Hornet division tend to run a different class every week. This is the second time that we will see this division, that we've seen this division this year. First time on the boot as Jonathan Peterson gives them the 1-to-go signal up in the flag stand. Pace car will pull off after a little bit, and a little bit of figure 8 comes into here play because they got to turn right, and it's a very sharp right-hand turn, Mackenzie, to get through that access road, that little joiner that you see, and we're going to do something special. We're going to give you 4 viewpoints here to start the race off. How about it? We're in a quad box like you're watching Sunday Ticket on in NFL season, so this ought to be fun.
Absolutely, and I'm seeing the new access kind of side road there, and I'm looking at the new barrier they've put in, so that's definitely new this season.
Let's see if somebody runs into it, because there's always a little bit of chaos that comes with the Hornet main. We are underway. The green flag is out. They're going 30 times around on Das Boot. And we are with Brad Gruhl. He's in the upper left-hand corner. Gruhl started deep in this field, as did Bjornson. That's the car right next to him. Bobby Fisher was outside row number 6, and Annika Duncan's 163 was inside row number 2 as you're looking at it. And Duncan, in the bottom right corner of your screen, is going to run second here on this opening lap. Duncan following in and around, and that'll probably be an interesting viewpoint as we'll flash back to her again if we get opportunity. Right now, we're watching them battle in through the corner, and heck, too many cars to even keep track of. I saw Bobby Fischer's 81 battling for position. Right now, front of the field, though, that is Diesel Snyder out in front, the 717. Annika Duncan in second, looking to the bottom of Diesel coming off turn number 4. And Matt Snyder, the last time they came around the transponder loop, was in third. So front of the field taking off and a good battle up front.
Yeah, it looks good. I mean, you have Diesel Snyder trying to, hold tight on his line, trying to hold off Annika Duncan right behind him. And, they're just kind of taking off and see, almost getting to that road or to get into that barrier. But, they're doing a great job and Snyder's definitely doing a great job holding off Annika.
Yeah, Diesel, one of the younger drivers in this field. We've seen him in Youth Hornets for many opportunities, and now out in front leading his first Hornet main. Duncan in second. She peeked to the inside going into that first corner. Didn't quite make the turn that she wanted to and had to fade back. Meanwhile, we've got movers and shakers coming off up the field. Tom Hibbs in the 98 is in fourth, and he is all over the back of Matt Snyder. That gray 15 for third, and there's a pack of cars coming with him. Contact behind him. Heads up. They all drove away. No blood, no foul.
They did. Hey, Revan's racing.
Especially in these cars that don't handle particularly great, right? I mean, it is a car you race. You can't do a whole heck of a lot with them. They're going to lean on each other at times.
I've always been told in figure 8 racing, 8 tires is better than 4, so I wonder if it works out this way in some of these turns for the Hornets.
You got to wonder, especially as they get on to the big, speedy 3/8s, how much they are willing to lean on each other. Right now, Snyder doing the best thing he can possibly do, just stretching his way from the field. The further away you can get from second place, the less opportunity you have to let them make a miracle or a hero move if this gets down late. We've already packed 5 laps in and 25 to go. The action is all back from them, and that's Bobby Fischer in the red, white, and blue 81 who's trying to work his way to the inside, now on Hibbs in the 98. So the race for 4th getting intense, and behind them 6th, 7th, and 8th with a pack of cars, 3 wide coming through those turns.
I know, you always kind of look at them and you're just trying to figure out who's going to come on top. I mean, 3 wide coming out of turn 4, or at least to me it's turn 4. It's very interesting to see in the moves that are being made. I mean, you still have, that pack of cars still all bunched together and see who's going to come out on top coming out of the turn.
Even given the size of this field, and this is frequently one of our largest sized fields that we have here at Evergreen Speedway with a gigantic invert on it, we almost always see some of those guys packed at the back of the field, weaving their way up and through the field to make their invert. It's a 30-lap main on a very big track, so they got a lot of opportunities to pass over the course of this run that they got on Das Boot. 7 in, Diesel Snyder has opened up half a turn worth of advantages. Right now, Duncan is only right at the apex, and here comes Bobby Fischer. The chess master is working for second, and he has got it. So move him up to second. He is bringing Calvin Miller, who started deep in this field as well. Miller started outside row number 8, so 16th, and he is already up to third and trying to chase down Fischer for the position.
Yeah, Calvin's definitely made some good moves and knows how to work through traffic. And, he's actually somebody that I compete with in the Super Stock Figure 8 class, and he's always trying to make moves. But, he's a good kid and he's driving clean and he's driving hard. So, really like to see him running up front.
Any insight as to racing against Calvin for position? Are there any tips and tricks that you have learned going up against him in ways that you can either keep him behind you or get around him?
He's actually somebody who's really hard to get around. He definitely tries to hold his line. I know the 8-cylinder vehicle or the race car is a little bit different than the 4-cylinder, so I know that they're, still trying to work out some things out of that car. But, I just try to, hold my line, try to get around him, go fast, and, if he messes up, I try to take full advantage of it.
Well, right now, if you're in Bobby Fischer's position, that's Calvin Miller, who has made his way to the inside as they come through the access road onto turn number 3. Short line around the raceway for Calvin Miller, who is now in position number 2, and right on the back of Snyder, who has been getting progressively more loose as this race gets on. Into turn number 1 they go, stab the brake, roll through, and we've got a new leader 11 laps into this. It's Calvin Miller.
Yeah, and like I said, Calvin, he's he's a great driver, and he's competitive. He's going to rub up on you. He's not too shy to do that. But for the most part, he definitely tries to drive clean, and it just showed right there how he was able to work his way around everybody.
Look at all the gap that he already established between himself and Snyder, and there Bobby Fisher working underneath. He's going to make his way into second and start giving chase to Miller out in front of this. But boy, this has been the Calvin Miller show, rolling up from the back of the field. In fourth, Dan Miller finally got the big numbers put on the 00. That is Christian's father, no relation to Calvin, as he'll work to the inside of Snyder and look for third. Miller, one of the grizzled veterans of the Hornet division, and right now looking for a podium finish, is side by side down the front straightaway with Diesel for the spot. Little bit of touch going into turn number 1. Rub off on those big duct tape numbers that I may or may not have given him a hard time in the shop about during the course of the week. No big deal.
With Miller starting in the back, Dan was not too far further ahead of him, and for them to be up, where they are, it just shows to how hard they're racing in this main event.
Yeah, exactly. 14 laps they've eclipsed here, and Dan Miller has ran from way deep up into third. Your race leader Calvin Miller started 16th and took about 11 laps to get into that top spot. Now for Miller, slower traffic approaching here at the back of the field on the road course, and you think for Calvin, who has been in the situation before, he's been a very successful Hornet driver, he's going to pick up his timing, approach these guys at the right spot, and look for his place to pass.
Well, and if he doesn't, you have Bobby Fisher right behind him, and maybe that'll close the gap a little bit between the two cars.
Little smoke showing out the back of the 59 driven by Tegan Bjornsson. So Bjornsson, car not quite on pace like Tegan was hoping for, and there goes Miller to the inside, looking to put our first car a lap down. Meanwhile, back there, Dan Miller, who's worked to third, now has Tom Hibbs in the 98 following him. So it's Miller third, Hibbs 4, Diesel Snyder 5th as they're in your screen. And actually, Christian Miller 5th, my apologies. So Christian, Dan's son, has worked his way up into the top 5, and he was your second place driver in points last year. So, he's looking for a big points day today to get him a little bit more in the picture for the points championship this year.
Absolutely. I mean, you see all these cars coming around the, turn 3 and 4 coming out of that access road, and just some of them you can see them just driving as hard as they can to try and make moves and get around and under people. So it's definitely awesome seeing all these different competitors making those decisions.
So you're watching how Miller is going in through that access road. It looks like he's really not having to brake. He's keeping a lot of momentum, maybe just lifting off the throttle, getting the car rotated down the chute with a little acceleration. But that's a big thing, not having to jam on the binders and then pick up your wheel speed once again after braking, going into that quick, short right-hand and left-hand corners.
Yeah, I mean, if you can keep the momentum coming out of that access road, it's definitely going to set you up for success going into that, big turn in 3 and 4, with the banked.
The bank corner coming on the back straightaway,
yes,
right?
Thank you.
Yep, so as you make that left-hand turn through the access road, you're coming onto banked raceway, and it is not a subtle, flat bank. There is some pretty serious, heavy inside turning going on. Meanwhile, Family Matters up in front. Dan Miller in the 00, and his boy Christian is now in fourth. Let's see if they do a little bit of bonding as they roll through the access road and onto the back straight.
And I was just noticing as they were coming off, Steve Wilkes, the number 87, has part of his bumper coming off.
Well, it's full contact Hornet racing sometimes out there. Can't help themselves. We're 2/3 of the way into this. 20 down, 10 to go. And it is the father-son battle for third that we're watching right now as they're shuffling Annika Duncan back further on the field. Dan Miller, the 00, Christian Miller, the 77, and so far, old age and treachery holding off youth and exuberance. They'll both roll through the middle of 3 and onto the front straightaway with 9 left and about a car length separating the two.
I was just watching Dan coming out of the access road, and the whole right rear tire of his was just lifting up off the ground. So it kind of goes to what you were talking about earlier about just holding that momentum through that little access area.
Christian's got a good run here and peaked to the inside on the right-hand turn, couldn't make it connect. Dan slowed the car down, really defending the bottom and saying, all right, kid, you want to get around me? Drive around me here. So let's see where Miller chooses to attack his father. They'll go down the front straightaway into turn number 1. Dan actually kind of squares the corner around. That way he can hold the inside, and he's got the inside lane making the right-hand turn. Miller eyeballs him, sets up, follows right on his rear bumper cover, and gives him a little shot. The short's coming on to the turn 3. Just leaning a little bit off of 4. This is a good battle, and they are nose to tail coming into 8 laps to go, make it 7 to go.
It is, and it looks like Miller's 77 was trying to make a pass on the inside, and Dad just kind of cut him off and was like, nope, not today. Making him work for it.
They're about to make their run onto the access road, and Christian's got the inside lane going to 3, and that's where he's going to make the pass. Shows him a door, might have bumped him a little bit. He'll have to beat out the indentation in Dad's car during the week, I'm sure. But Christian Miller up into 3rd with a little bit of time left to try to hunt down Bobby Fischer, but Dad's not having any of it. Dan goes back to the bottom and almost beat him to the inside of turn 1.
Yeah, and it looks like we got 6 to go, so plenty of laps and time for him to catch back up.
What happened while those guys are battling, behind them, the black and green 25, is Trent Gillespie, multiple-time feature winner in the division. And Gillespie worked his way into a top 5 finish as we look at Christian Miller trying to get away from his pop. And, well, it looks like Bobby Fischer is a long ways gone, so this might be a battle just to hang on to that final podium position as he is in slower traffic right now and trying to make his way around for 4th. Gillespie showing some smoke, but working on Dan Miller, and the door opens up on the bottom of 3. Can Gillespie step through it?
He's definitely trying. I mean, I think he's putting that pedal to the floor, and there's a little bit of contact there, and he gets a little sideways, but, he's able to hold it on, and they just keep driving. Cost Miller another position as Hibbs, who's been sniffing the top 5 all race long, will get by him while Miller kind of fishtailed and had to gather the car back under control. So with 4 to go, now the question is, Gillespie, can he catch Christian Miller for the final podium position? Miller has cleared the slower car, the 06 of Chuck Fisher, and it's a long ways between your leader, Calvin Miller, Bobby Fischer, and what is 3rd place Christian Miller, as we're just 3 circuits left around the boot. 3/8 of a mile is the circle track that's kind of around the middle here of Evergreen Speedway. You figure with the additional turning and stuff, the boot, just a hair longer than what the 3/8 is going to end up being, although they do cut this corner in 1 a little bit early. Your leader, Calvin Miller, coming into slower traffic, and looks like Brady Smith a little sideways in front of him, but he'll get by. As the next time around, white flag out for Calvin. You can see the red, white, and blue 81 of Bobby Fischer is 3 slower cars behind and half a corner behind as well. As they'll roll down to the white flag, it's 1 more time around, and Calvin Miller looking for the feature win. Miller into 1, clear of everybody, makes his way through as they're bumping and banging in behind him. I think I just saw Calvin wave at somebody.
See you in victory lane, buddy. As Miller to the inside of 3, he will make his way through and off of corner number 4. Calvin Miller. It is an Interstate Batteries Hornet win for Calvin. Give 2nd to Bobby Fischer. He crosses the line. And wait a couple of seconds for 3rd. There is Christian Miller taking it. We're to come back. We will go to the Angel of the Winds Casino Resort podium interviews right after this commercial break here on Home Track Heroes.
You worked your way through the field, did a great job tonight driving that number 77 machine. You had that side-by-side battle with Dan. What was that like?
Oh, man, that was a blast. I wish I wouldn't have hit him. That's not how I really want to race anyone, but especially my dad. I'm sure he's probably sitting there like, dang it, that was my spot. But, it was a fun race.
For you, what is the secret to coming through a field like that? You started near the back, made your way through. How do you do that?
Patience. Just watching 5 cars ahead of me, making sure that I don't get involved in any of the wrecks, and just being patient and waiting for someone else to make a mistake.
Who would you like to thank for your performance out here tonight?
Oh, man, I'm going to forget a couple. I just built a new car, so Turbo Espresso, Rick's Mobile AC, man, I can't, my dad, Peyton Hop, Damon Claiborne, Hornets Nest Racing, Mickle Manning, Jeff Johnson, Exterior Wall Systems, and Whiskey Years Over.
Driver the number 77, Christian Miller, 3rd place tonight. You had a good run going in that number 81 car, made your way through the field. Walk us through that battle there, about midway through the race with Calvin.
Oh, it really wasn't much of a battle. I gave him a lane, and he took it, and he led the rest of the way. I couldn't catch him. I really like that track, but I cannot seem to beat Calvin on that track, so hats off to him.
Had a good car out there tonight. Who would you like to thank for putting that together?
I'd like to thank everybody, all the fans that come out and support us racing, my family, my friends. My daughter out here races out here with me. I have a blast doing that. Central Welding, Lund Orthodontics, LDP Construction, and North Sound Fence.
Driver of the 81, that's Bobby Fisher, second place tonight. Calvin, you drove that 49 fast and hard today throughout the night. Started out near the back, made your way through. Same question as Christian. What's the secret to that?
Be patient. Honestly, when the first time around, let people wreck each other, and then you squeak by in the middle. Like, I think I went 3 or 4 wide a couple times. It's all about being lucky, and I'm really glad it didn't rain today.
Next question, of course, you run the Stinger 8 class as well. What's secret to pulling off success here and success there?
Oh, well, it's a little bit different with racing the figure 8, but you kind of got to drive like you don't care a little bit. I don't know. It's complicated. Brandon's just really good at it.
Who would you like to thank for your performance out here tonight?
Northwest Poly Services, Precision Force Industries, my mom and dad, and Uncle Jordan, Grandma and Grandpa, and Will Cruz more on number 1. Oh, and my sister, everybody.
Driver the number 49, we'll see if we see him again, Calvin Miller.
Well, Calvin Miller walking off with another trophy, thanks to Derek Todoroff on the podium doing our interviews. As we're going to move on, it is time for the Speedway Chevrolet Pro Late Models. Week number 1, a little too wet out on the raceway for them to go, but 75 laps of dry condition racing coming up for one of the premier divisions at Evergreen Speedway. Mackenzie, this is looking to be a good time. Good field of late models out here.
It really is, and I'm so glad that they get to, go out and race today and just be able to put on a show for the fans. So happy to have him back.
Moved him up on the program in order to get their all their laps in. Shout out, by the way, Daniel Moore was in attendance, however, had some problems in practice at the PRCBD 16. He will not make the call for the main event. Row number 1 for this A feature, it is Chad Fitzpatrick, the trademark RCS number 12C, and next to him, Nick Beecher in the 45, sponsored by Kendall Auto Group.
In the next row, we have the 98 of Greg Bennett, sponsored by Bennett Design Construction. And next to him, we have the 18 of Nama Lang, sponsored by J&R Truck Rentals.
Couple of young guns in row 3. The Johansson Mechanical number 9K of Caden Holm. And next to him, it's the Busch Light, sponsored 7D of Dawson Cox.
And behind Caden, we have the 78 of Haley Constant, sponsored by Joe's Racing Products. And next to her, we have the number 5, Brad Thomas, sponsored by Armageddon Arms.
Row number 5 is Nick Gunderson. The 33G starts in position 9, sponsored by New Property Solutions. Next to him, Colton Price, the D2 Foundations, number 14.
And behind Nick in the last row, we have the number 82 of Angel Cervantes, sponsored by Dirt Cheap Sewer, and the 10 of Brian Cottrell, also sponsored by Dirt Cheap Sewer.
All right, so we are ready to go. 12 cars, 75, the scheduled distance here for the Pro Late Models at Evergreen Speedway around the 3/8, their first race of the year. Fitzpatrick, who was so strong last year, he's looking for that feature victory to get 2023 kicked off. And Nick Beecher, who we saw in the front of the field often last season outside row number 1. We're going to go in car with Haley Constance in your upper left corner of the screen. She starts inside row number 4. A little ways to go for Haley from the back of the pack. And your right-hand screen will show you the front of the pack as we are underway. And a good start for Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick on the inside, forcing Beecher to go to the outside. From Constance's view, you can see him 2, almost 3 wide in front of him coming through that corner. Pick a lane and stick with it, as Fitzpatrick's going to lead lap number 1 with Beecher second, and last year's champion Nama Lang in the 3rd position.
You have some really good cars up front. I mean, you have Fitzpatrick, Beecher, and Lang, and, they're all strong competitors, and, it initially taken off, adding some car links between, the 4 and following spots.
Traditionally, what we see here in the late model division is a war for the bottom of the race wagon. That's late model racing around a lot of parts of the country, but the high groove has shown that it is a good passing groove. Nama Lang has used it many times to his opportunity in running to the championship last year, and he's already starting to swing the car out in turn number 1 and look for opportunity to go around Beecher. And Beecher actually kind of swinging the car out wide down the back straightaway. We see a number of these drivers use the extra paved runoff area back there to their advantage, as well as trying to move forward now. Bid for the bottom on Beecher. He tries to get underneath Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick closes the door early and maintains the lead down the back chute. It is Fitzpatrick, Beecher, Lang. Hanging in the 4th position, that's Caden Holm, and we have got a car significantly off the pace, and that is the 5 of Brad Thomas. Thomas has slowed. Let's take a peek and see what happened to Brad As on our replay, where there's smoke, there's almost always liquid. Thomas spins, and that smoke wasn't coming for him, so we'll have to see exactly what happened out there as the car in front of him. I think Brian controls 10 that looked like it was spewing that kind of gray, dark, whatever it is, and you saw Thomas's tires just get into it and unhook the car and right around for him.
Yeah, I mean, just coming off turn 4, it looked like there was just a lot of smoke coming out, and he just had nowhere to go and kind of got caught up in it, so...
Well, we understand that there was some pretty significant lubricant put down on the racetrack. Speaking of lubricants, Bardol Manufacturing, located in Seattle's world leader in automotive lubricants with oils, additives, and lubricants for your car, truck, boat, or motorized toy. Pick the brand racers around the world rely on. It's Bardol, celebrating over 82 years in business and operating in 90 countries. Make Bardol your brand. So, with that cleaned up, the decision cone was out on the front straightaway. Front row does exactly what I think they're going to do. Fitzpatrick chooses low. That's going to set Beecher up high. Row number 2, same thing. Third and fourth, they went low-high with Lang and Holm. Row 3, first real kind of change in anything. You see Bennett low, Constance high. Then it's going to be Cox low. And next to Dawson on the outside should be Colton Price's 14. So there's your top 8 as we will roll back into the throttle and back into green flag conditions.
And I was just about to say, I wonder what's going to happen with the oil down and see if that's going to affect the start.
Well,
I'm glad I didn't say it, 'cause I would have.
You almost pulled your first commentator's curse, Mackenzie.
I waited.
Done. Well done. So let's watch them as they come up to speed off of 4. Greg Bennett's 98 gets the worst portion of it. He'll come off the corner, and a little contact aided in that. Bennett coming around. He'll have a nice tire smiley to show for it. So Bennett, let's get another look. He'll come off right next to 78. Contact occurs. Probably just a racing deal as far as I can see there. And one more look from the up top.
Yeah, I mean, it just looks like he was trying, hit the throttle, going for the green flag, and just got a little loose. The rear end just kind of came out from underneath him.
Well, one more look from the in-car of Bennett's 98. Into the corner, following Nema in and around, and here's where it starts. Around he goes. We're back with more next here on Home Track Heroes. Thanks for tuning in to Home Track Heroes here on the CW11. My name is Caleb Hart. Mackenzie Dietz joining me up in the booth here on a Sunday afternoon as our Pro Late Model race is up and going. The Speedway Chevrolet Pro Late Models on the track. Chad Fitzpatrick leading in the early going, but man, what a great field in and behind him. And let's get back to the track and see what's happening as far as it goes. Pace car pulling off, and we're getting a restart with some in-camera from your race leader, Fitzpatrick. Up and to the left, we are green off the corner.
It looks like you have the first 6 cars just nose to tail and coming into those corners. And, just now they're trying to go 3 wide through 1 and 2. But just look at all of all of those cars and just looking to make some moves and make some passes.
Absolutely. Look at what just happened with Beecher as Beecher takes over the lead. What a great start it was from the outside. We started him on the outside in the original start, and he's figured something out on that 45 car as the handling looks like it's pretty drastically changed just about 5 laps into this main.
Yeah, I mean, he made the outside work for him while, Fitzpatrick chose the inside, and now you see him ducking low and trying to stay out of that oil line, but Beecher's definitely making some moves and has about 4 car lengths over Fitzpatrick.
Now, as far as these cars goes, there's not an abundance of in-cockpit adjustments you can make to really make them work farther. Obviously, you got a brake bias adjuster that we've talked about in this program a few times, but other than that, other than changing your brakes around, not much. Meanwhile, for 4th, a couple of youngsters battling it out. Dawson Cox started on the outside of row number 3, and Caden Holm was on the inside of him. They're now up into your top 5 solidly and looking for more as Holm sneaking around. And actually, Caden Holm pressuring the back of your defending track champion, Nema. Lang for 3rd as Lang making a run on Fitzpatrick. Might have been feeling the heat.
Yeah, I mean, Nema's definitely, I've been watching Nema for years out here in these cars, and, he definitely has a lot of experience and can hold the car down low or, take it out wide to make the pass if needed.
He also has a very excellent sense of timing. Started feeling it a bit from home and said, okay, we got to push here for a second. Now somebody a little bit faster than me might be overtaking me. So Lang pushes, picks up the spot from Fitzpatrick, and is now in pursuit of Beecher with Holm 3rd, Cox looking for fourth as Fitzpatrick's got strung up on that outside line and just can't seem to pull it back down and find a spot to get in. That's a frustrating feeling.
It really is. Trying to get into, the groove that you want and you have oil laid down on the track, it can definitely be frustrating. I've had the same experience in figure eight racing, and, just trying to get the car to stay where you want it can be difficult in those situations.
Well, up front, your top three have tightened up pretty significantly here, laying right on the back of Beecher and Caden Holm. Looking as racy as he has. Now, Holm has led some laps from the pole, but we haven't seen him drive up and through the field yet. So Holm trying to push Lang around. We say that push, not actually physically leaning on him here, but definitely applying pressure to the veteran. And Naima Lang, all kinds of speed, making Nick Beecher work for it there in that Oberg-sponsored number 45. Cox right in there as well, so make it a four-car siesta for the top spot.
Yeah, Beecher's doing a great job holding off Naima. You said earlier Naima Lang being a track champion. And Beecher, this is not the only class that he's driven in, at Evergreen Speedway either. So he's definitely doing a great job holding Naima off and holding the lead.
Nick's a confident guy. You talked to him in the pit area before. He has the utmost belief in his skills, and he's taken well to this late model racing thing. The question is, can he hold off one of Evergreen Speedway's best? And Naima is not having an easy run of it. Holm all over the back of him looking for the spot. Now we've got a freight train of 6 cars as Fitzpatrick finally got down and into line. Colton Price has caught up with the field, and 7th place isn't too far back. So nose to tail racing down the front straightaway here in our Pro Late models. And what's getting really, really good, and we're only, about almost a third of the way through. We're coming up on it here in just 9 laps.
Yeah, and you know that they're not going to stay nose to tail for long. So you wonder who's going to jump out of line and try to make some passing moves.
Who's going to venture up to the outside groove first? We saw Beecher use it on a restart to work his way through, but since then, it has been hug the bottom and wait for somebody in front of you to make a mistake. You kind of saw Holm think about it going into 3. That car arced up just a little bit high getting into the corner, but quickly pulled back into line. And right now, all these guys and girls, I should say, have their spotters in their ears saying, hey, he's coming, he's right on the bottom, don't screw up.
Yeah, you see Nick Beecher went a little bit wide, and so Naima was trying to take advantage of that and try to go down low, but, just didn't have it for Beecher in that turn.
Let's see if Beecher exacerbates the mistake. No, it's going to be Naima getting too high. So Caden Holm down low, slips Lang back a position, and Lang in danger of getting freight train for 3rd as well as Cox knows up to about the numbers coming off of 4. So Naima Lang 1, little error. Might cost him 2 positions. Dawson down low. Not quite leaning on him, but not giving him any space as they go door panel to door panel into 3. Can Naima hold the outside and make it work? Can Dawson take it from him down low? Just ahead of them, 1st and 2nd, right on each other. As we're watching a great battle in your top 4.
Makes me wonder if Naima's doing a little bit of, holding back a little bit, saving his tires for later on in the race. He's still just nose to tail with Dawson, and you have Holm and Beecher right up there, but, he's still really close, so I wonder if that'll play out for him later in the race.
We'll take a look. Caden Holm's not saving anything at this point. Drives to the inside of Beecher, forces Beecher out into the middle between the hash marks, and down the front straightaway they go at the line. We'll wait for the transponder loop to update it. Visually on the racetrack, it's still Nick Beecher that time by, but right now you can say it. Caden Holm has got your lead, and he is driven from 5th to pick it up. What a run for Caden. So Caden Holm is your leader.
Yeah, and you see Dawson Cox right behind Beecher trying to make some moves and get around him, and Naima Lang, again, just right on the bumper of Cox trying to make some moves and stay right up there with him.
So our 3rd different leader, Holm takes it over on lap number 24. With 51 to go, Beecher settling into 2nd and actually has a nice run to the inside on Holm. Holm got way wide in that corner. It's going to cost him 2, make it 3 spots, and there may be something wrong on Holm's car. Caden Holm is significantly off the pace, so his lead will last just 2 laps as Nick Beecher back to the top spot, and now Dawson Cox in 2nd. Crazy happenings up at the front of this field.
It does. Things can happen so quick, and Holm had such a great run going, and just watching him go into the pits, it's just unfortunate. He had a great thing going.
All right, so Beecher retakes the top spot on lap number 26. Still getting a little wide into that turn, and this is giving opportunity for Dawson. Cox, a previous pro late model winner, although it's been a couple of seasons now. So looking to break the drought, and right now, Cox in second, Lang in third, in hot pursuit of Nick Beecher, your race leader. Colton Price has worked his way up into fourth. Nice run for Colton. Let's take a look for the in-car of Dawson Cox as he pursues Nick Beecher going into the third corner, I should say. Door opening down low in one. Can Dawson force his way through it? Contact between the two. Beecher goes wide, keeps the car straight though. Dawson using the opportunity to try to pull even down the back straightaway.
And you got to give it to both of these drivers. They're driving hard. Cox kind of pulled away a little bit, making sure that Beecher didn't get caught up in that and push Beecher wide, and Dawson Cox is just taking full advantage of it.
Late model racing is inherently a little bit physical at times. Beecher is making the big rally, though, as it looks like he's gained some ground around the outside of Cox. Cox leans on him again coming off the corner as Beecher leads the lap. But was that what Cox needed to get by? You see, he puts the tires just a hair below the white lines coming through 3 and 4. Where Beecher gained his time back was right here through the apex of the third and fourth corner. Can he get it this time? He cannot. New leader Dawson Cox the stripe this time by.
You were talking earlier about how the bottom groove, seemed to be the most sought after one, but in the last 2-3 laps, Beecher's shown that the top groove and the high groove is one that you can really carry some speed through. I mean, look at him coming back and catching back up with Lang.
Heck of a run there by Nick Beecher to try to hang on to it. However, it's Dawson Cox's world at this point in time as Beecher in danger of slipping another position. He's on the outside trying to fight with Nema, and Nema making it tough on him. Once again, cars collide, albeit gently, down the front straightaway. As you got to imagine Beecher getting frustrated. He probably wants to get back down a groove now that he's lost not only the lead, but is in danger of losing second.
Yeah, I mean, you have Colton Price right behind both of them, trying to wait for an opportunity to get around both of them. So really nice driving, really nice job by all of them holding it together. And you see Lang get a little bit loose there in the oil.
And that allows Beecher to rally back and around the top. You see him pull ahead. Did he get far enough ahead that he can come down a groove? See if his spotter tells him he's clear. He's just not quite, and especially going into one. Lang pulls right back up to the door panel. This time, Lang a much better 1 and 2, and accelerating down the back straightaway. There goes Nama Lang. He is solidly into second. Beecher does get down in front of Price. Price with the nose up into the back end of Nick. So the former mini stock drivers going bang, bang down the front straightaway. And right now the race is on for third. Can Price wiggle his way to the inside of Nick Beecher? And it looks like he's got the lane. He's bringing Greg Bennett with him, too.
Yeah, and you see Bennett get a little bit loose there. It's definitely difficult when you have a nice run going and you're, having to worry about not only the tires, your car, the track, but you're having to worry about that oil line as well.
This last time by marked the exact halfway point of this race, 38 down, 37 to go. And now for fourth, Greg Bennett, who spun earlier. You can see the tire smiling on the 8 portion of the 98 down the right-hand side. He's got the fourth position, so the veteran, Greg Bennett, looking good out there. And has opened up a car length advantage for fourth over Nick Beecher as this field begins to spread out a little bit. And you see that. You've got car lengths between everybody. Now it becomes not just a race with the guy in front of them, but a run down the person in front of you and try to pass him. And that gets to be a tall task.
Well, absolutely. And you see some of that little bit of damage on Greg Bennett's front bumper and the hood. And you wonder if that has any sort of effect on the car's handling or anything happening there for him. But it looks like he's, doing a great job pulling away, super fast through the back stretch and really able to take those corners.
We know the late model drivers spend a lot of time working on their aero package and making sure that everything is good to go. Kind of different for you guys on the little short course with the figure 8 cars that at least the super stock figure 8s that don't have the big wings in the back of them to get the side bite.
Yeah, that or the nose. We do have one person that runs a nose. I thought about it, but it was just too much work to make happen. But, these guys work really hard getting their cars looking good and, making sure that it works for them. So hopefully there's not too much damage on Bennett and Beecher's cars.
It's still handleable to the point where he's in fourth place. It's been an excellent run. We're watching Dawson Cox And Nema Lang. Lang has caught up to Dawson, and Dawson trying to hold him off. He's chasing around the Busch Beer-sponsored car because Busch Beer is the official beer of NASCAR and Evergreen Speedway. Busch Beer, the sound of refreshment, crisp and cold as a mountain stream. Keep your fridge happy by stocking it with Busch and Busch Light. Busch. Down the straightaway they roll once again, and Lang is just stalking Dawson, looking for position. Those two have tangled on the racetrack more than a couple of times. It is Cox this time in the catbird seat with the spot ahead of Lang as we're looking behind them at third and fourth. That is Colton Price. Price in his second full year late model racing to move up, former mini stock champion here at Evergreen Speedway. And Bennett, the long-term late model veteran, he has been in this class for as long as I've been paying attention, and that's a hot minute for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you see Colton Price trying to, get caught back up with Lang and Cox, and then you have Bennett right behind him. So I'm wondering if this is going to be a really good race between first and second and third and fourth here, and if they're going to be able to catch up.
That's one thing you see as drivers begin battling a little bit harder. Lap times drop as one of them will get defensive and one of them kind of tucks into line. That would give Price a really good opportunity to catch up as, again, just a car length separating those two. Meanwhile, back in the pack, that is Haley Constance starting to make some moves.
Yeah, Haley Constance is, she's somebody that can just jump in many different race cars and, do really well. And just watching her today and seeing the moves that she's making, is that Nick Gunderson? So, watching her make some moves, and I mean, she's 5-6 car lengths now just in that one turn.
Right. She had started on this main event. She had started in 7th, had faded back a little bit. Now she has recovered to 7th at the 2/3 mark, so there's 25 laps left to go in this. So we'll keep our eye on Haley, and you're right, a versatile young driver who both of us have seen racing in a lot of different applications. Up front, it is Cox still holding that same car length-ish lead on Lang. Lang sails it in and catches a bunch of ground up through the entrance and middle of 3 and 4. Cox gets into turn number 1 and off of turn number 2 a little bit better. So that's where he's making his ground. And boy, Haley really closed a lot of gap on Chad Fitzpatrick there.
Yeah, I mean, like we were just talking about, she is driving that. She's doing the best she can to, close the gap. And you're wondering if, I'm sitting here wondering if maybe she was in the back for a little bit to save some tires, and now she's just putting the pedal to the metal, making moves.
If she's got the green light from her crew and her spotters to just go for it, she can definitely do that. You see some smoke coming out the 5 of Brad Thomas. He was your spin out earlier. Your leader is into slower traffic and making his way through, and Cox navigates it quite well with a car length on Lang. Both of them will get past Cervantes and Thomas as they'll roll forward. Meanwhile, this is for 6th, I believe. And to the inside, there goes Haley. She's going to take that spot. So Constance is the car on the move with 20 to go. Nice run by Haley, a veteran of the micro sprint wars up north at Deming Speedway on Friday nights. And here at Evergreen Speedway, started out in a youth Hornet, now all the way up to a pro late model for still a very young lady, a high school senior.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I really love about the youth class is it gives the opportunity to teach these drivers, a lot about car control, how to drive, and the ability to move up in each class. So I love that Evergreen has that available.
Up front, 18 remain for Dawson Cox. Lang still right there, waiting for Dawson to make a boo-boo. You can see Nema's got a good car, but Dawson a really good piece underneath him as well. And this may just come down to who makes that big mistake, if either of them at this point in time. As there's now 17 to go back in the field. There's a look. Colton Price, your third-place runner, and he is, let's say, half a straightaway in behind your top 2, so he's got a little more scramble to catch up to him, but something happens, he's in a really good position also.
Absolutely, and your top 3 have definitely gotten through some of that lap traffic already, so now you have Greg Bennett sitting there trying to make some moves and get around to catch back up to Colton.
Into the corner in 1. Gives you a really good looking at the banking that goes into that turn, from the outsider's perspective. It almost kind of looks a little flat, but it is not. There's a lot of banking going into 1, and you can carry a lot of speed in these high-powered late models, the pro late models here at Evergreen Speedway. 15 left. If Lang's got anything, there shouldn't be any holding back anymore. You got to push it at this point and try to find your opportunity to get by Dawson Cox, and you can see it's really kind of a battle of two different corners, where Cox is better in 1 and 2. Lang has been consistently better in 3 and 4. Cox has got the benefit of track position at this point in time, though, and Lang continues to hang out behind him.
Yeah, I've been noticing Dawson's been kind of pulling away from him through the straightaways in the backstretch, and one of the things that Lang's able to do is to drive that car in harder, and you can even see when he's coming out of 3 or coming out of 4 or coming out of 2, that rear of the car is kind of moving out a little bit on him. So I wonder if he's pushing it, trying to, make up that ground during those turns.
That uncomfortable rear end stepping out on you feeling that is familiar with what you would call loose condition in your race car. It is just the right amount of uncomfortable on the pavement, is it not?
I always like to have it just right on the edge of out of control because it's a little bit faster. You can get it to rotate and do what you need to do, but you definitely don't want to have that happen during a main event.
Speaking of just a little bit faster, Haley Constance has now run down Nick Beecher for 5th. She's got the inside line on Nick, coming in with 11 laps left. And to the inside goes Haley, a top 5 she is sniffing, and out of turn number 2, noses ahead, although a good rally on the outside for Beecher. We've seen when he's had to get his elbows up on that outside groove, he doesn't make it easy. However, low groove, very, very solid for Constance, and the Joe's Racing Product 78 moves her into the top 5 with the move into turn number 1.
Yeah, I mean, with her in the top 5, just making moves, and I wonder if she can, there's 10 laps to go. I wonder who else she can try to catch up to.
You also wonder if she's begging for a caution at this point in time. With that decision cone that comes down the front straightaway, you can make up a lot of grounds just by being gutsy and taking a different lane. Just the fact that you could make up all that track position that Cox has at this point in time over the rest of the field could be a big deal. As Cox, with 8 to go, has Lang just bird dogging him right behind him. He is everywhere Dawson goes without touching him. They've run each other extraordinarily clean, which is awesome. But Lang right there, every move Dawson Cox makes, like the police song, he's watching him. That was bad, I'm sorry. We'll continue on down the back straightaway. It's our first lyric drop of the year here on Home Track Heroes. Dawson Cox, Nama Lang, 6 to go. And can the young driver hold off the reigning track champion? Very good racing here on our Pro Late models. We'll watch him down the back straightaway. And once again, this is where we have seen Lang make up a lot of his advantage. You can see that gap just shorten through the middle of the corners. Now in 1 and 2, this time Dawson doesn't quite get away as far. Nama keeps that from expanding as much as it had down the back straightaway. He'll roll in even tighter on him this time. Just looking for opportunity. Slower traffic looms ahead. Will they reach it, and will it be a factor? Down to 4 laps left. Cox looking to stake his claim with the first Pro Late Model main event of the year. You see Lang again push it hard through the middle of the turns, and Colton Price is creeping up on that battle, although running out of time in which to do anything. Got to be praying for a caution if you're Colton. 2 to go. Cox looking for the big win. Mackenzie, if you're in Dawson's spot, what's going through your head right now?
I mean, just to go. Don't look in your mirror and just run your line. I mean, Dawson's doing a great job, and he's a very versatile driver. He's been in many classes here at Evergreen Speedway. I've personally even run against him. But you have Nama Lang, who has, the years of experience and is definitely, has had more seat time in this car.
Well, with 1 to go, Lang going to push as hard as he can into the middle of the corner. Cox still makes a perfect 1 and 2. One more set of turns around the 3/8. Slower traffic won't come into play. And off of corner number 4, Pro Late Model win, Dawson Cox gets the second of his career. Nama Lang 2, and a great finish for Colton Price. He'll round out the podium. We'll check in with the podium after this commercial break here on Home Track Heroes on the CW11.
Colton, you managed to get a race under your belt already at Tri-Cities for the Apple Cup weekend, managed to make the trek over the mountains. What do you guys learn with this new car, or new-ish car, setup-wise, going into tonight?
I mean, we just kind of put our heads together and threw something that we thought might work in it, but we got some work to do, but it's good enough for third, and I just can't thank my guys enough for all the time we put into this program over the off-season. Chris, Patrick, Jimmy, Dane, my dad, my girlfriend for putting up with the shop nights every night for the last month and a half. But it finally paid off, and I'm just glad we have a good piece to work with this year.
I know after all the struggles last year, how good is it to get a strong finish under your belt already this year?
Oh, it means the world. It's last year was so trying for all of us. Show up, car wouldn't run. Show up, the car would run, but it wasn't that good. And so we just did away with that one and went all the way to Indiana to pick this one up. But it's a good piece, something good to work with. But I just can't thank everybody on board. Northwest Boilers, Jacqueline's Roofing, Supreme Rock Creek and Excavation, Where to Get Espresso, Hunt Racing Engines for keeping us tuned up. I'm sure I'm forgetting people, but Wicked Wraps for the amazing wrap. Thing looks awesome. Property Solutions, Jeff, he's been helping, and I'm running one of his cars for the super races this year. Just everybody that makes it possible. I couldn't do it without them, and for the fans that come out and cheer us on, we appreciate it.
Colton Price, strong third place run to kick off his 2023 season. Nicely done, Colton. Name you would have loved to get around that 7 car, but saw both of you guys were sliding there with about 10 to go. Looked like the rear tires started kind of falling off, and it was a game of who could drive it straightest off.
Yeah, I didn't. No, beginning of the race, I just had no drive off, and it just got worse as the race went on. Dawson ran a good race. I didn't want to touch him he had a good race car, and I just couldn't get him off the corner, and that's just the way it ended up. Second place. I'm fine with it.
Solid way to start out the season. Like to thank the supporters you guys got in the 18 camp.
Yeah, JNR Truck Rental, JNR Motorsports, Lang Auto Sports, DeYoung Inc., and I have all my friends and family that come out here all week.
And finally, when you know early on that the car is not going to be the greatest throughout the main event, what can you do as a driver to kind of adapt throughout the run and try and kind of pedal it that one position farther?
No, you just got to manage what you got and just settle in where you think you can end up, and don't beat it up too much to try to. You didn't want to kill that right rear, otherwise I would have had 6th or 7th. So second's fine. It was a good run, good race. The track was a little dirty, but we got through it, got the race in. I'm happy.
Nema Lang, second place, start off his 2023 season. Nicely done, Nema. All right, I think we've got all the victory lane photos in. But Dawson, this has been a long time coming. How does it feel to park this thing in the front straight with a main event win?
That was the longest race of my life. I know how good Nema is here. I mean, he's a good driver anywhere. So to have him behind me for what felt like 4 hours. I mean, I've ran 4-hour enduros and they felt shorter than that. I was sweating, but I had a lot of fun. I got to thank everybody that helped me get here. My dad, Steve Cox, Augie on the radios tonight. That was huge. Eugene, Keith, they're a new crew, and I'm glad we got this for them, and they're a huge help, and I'm thankful for everything. Same with my sponsors, Anheuser-Busch and Busch Light. I really appreciate them. Couldn't do it without them, and hopefully we can keep this going.
Yeah, decent starting position, but how important was it getting around the 45 of Nick Beecher to get that position, easy for me to say, and get out in front to get that gap?
That was probably the game changer. Didn't get that second or whatever spacing I had. I think he would have been all over me for a lot sooner, and I think he would have been able to make something happen.
Anybody else you like to thank?
My mom, my sister, and Riley for showing up to watch. That's pretty cool.
Got to get the family thanks. One more.
Jason Miller, he's been helping us. Calvin helped us last night. It's just a huge family, and I appreciate everybody that's helped us on this car.
Dawson Cox, your winner tonight in the Speedway Chevrolet Pro Late Models. Nicely done, Dawson.
Well, the celebration is on for Dawson Cox. Congratulations, opening night for the Pro Late Models feature win. And, well, let's go to Mackenzie's area of expertise. Let's put some 8 cylinders into figure 8 cars and go rolling with the Frank's Radio Outlaw figure 8s. This is looking fun. This class is getting a little growth to it. It's nice to see.
Absolutely. And, this is just such a fun class, and just figure eight in general is one of my favorites. And I'm a little biased because that's where I started out. But, I love watching these cars and seeing what they can do.
Well, it's been a family affair for many years. We'll have a chance to talk about that, I'm sure, coming up in a couple of seconds. But first, we got to tell you who's out there. The front row for this, it is the former feature winner, Jillian Lopato, the Hager Motorsports Zero, and Rick Jones, next to in the 66. Winter Speed Shop at Burien is his sponsor.
And in row 2, you have the 767 of Jamie Corbett, sponsored by A1 Auto Service Center. And on the outside, we have the 98 of Richard Shamebrook, sponsored by Pristine Landscaping.
It is row number 3. The kid, Ricky Dietz, 676 Tire Pros of Arlington, sponsors him. It is Chris Curtis, the other real veteran of the division, in the 74 outside of him.
And behind Ricky, you have the 83G of Zach Larson. And on the outside of him, you have the 50 of John Cowboy Carlson. Sponsored by the Fireplace Guy, Hearth and Home LLC.
Row number 5, Tony V's Garage, sponsors Dakota Wilkinson in 25. Jim Powers, the 007, sponsored by Pilchuck Heating. And then Nick Holton brought the car out this week. Car number 71, sponsored by Northwest Adventure Rentals. So, 11 of our Frank's Radio Outlaw figure eights, going 30 times around the most dangerous intersection in the world. Lopato in the very distinct-looking Zero, and Jones in the 66. And I can just tell you from the amount of times I saw that crew in our shop over the offseason, they have put a ton of work into the Zero this year.
They absolutely have, and it's a beautiful-looking car. You have the pink with the black and the gray, and it's really good looking.
So you've got the inside line on some information on those 767 and 676 cars. Anything new, top secret, would tell me, but you have to kill me under the hood or on those cars this year?
I tell you, but I have to kill you.
Okay,
I think the uncles wouldn't appreciate me sharing that.
Well, that's all right. There's a track record of success coming out of that camp. Again, Dietz was our opening night feature winner. He ended up winning the 60 Minutes of Fear to end the season and was the track championship. So a lot of momentum coming out of that third row on the inside. And let's see what happens. Jonathan Peterson, our flagman, has moved to inside his little tire barrier, and we are up and running with this 30-lap A main event.
Rick Jones is coming out, making moves, getting in that first spot. He's one of the super stock figure eight cars that, a lot of them don't come out and race with the Outlaws. But Rick Jones said, hey, why not? Let's come out and have some fun and turn some laps.
Well, looks like he got the lead at the transponder loop, but you can see Jillian's for sure got it now. She's got the full Outlaw car. Now, the Outlaw car has got the big sideboards. Visually, that's the biggest thing is, holy cow, Ricky Dietz. That was fast as he makes his way into the North Pole and wedges his way underneath Corbett. But other differences between the Outlaws and the super stock figure eights that you could tell us?
There is a lot of differences. With the super stocks, we have a little bit more rules. The Outlaws really don't have very many rules except the tires. The base, how well they do is based on setup and the driver, and how well the track conditions are on the day that they race.
So at base, as far as the car goes, do whatever you can to make speed.
Absolutely. Yeah, and they're always trying to find more.
So what we're watching right now is Zach Larson. He is in the black with fluorescent orange, number 83. And Larson chasing around Jamie Corbett for the third position on this running order. Yes, indeed. Larson has a peek to the inside going in the South Pole. Corbett sawing on the wheel, but gets a shot right in the rear end at the apex of the turn. So he knows he's there now. Larson tucked in. Curtis also in the 5th position on what looks to be a pretty fast course for these drivers right now that's already getting some intersection action.
Absolutely. The course definitely dried out throughout the day, and they're able to get some traction. And, you see Jillian here trying to hold off Ricky, and she's been in the lead for the last few laps, 5 laps down. And she's doing a great job holding him off. That Ricky's definitely not afraid to bump her up when he needs to, and he'll push that car into, a lot of the open spots. You think it's a small spot, and he's like, oh, you left me enough room to get that tire in there. The whole front end's going.
Of the many great accolades that go on Ricky Dietz in his figure eight racing career, patience has never been one that he's been noted for. So see spot, take spot when applicable.
Not traditionally, but you definitely. Oh, and you see Rick Jones and Jim Powers getting into it in the intersection. It's one of those things that you don't know what's going to happen with a new driver, especially one that you haven't driven with before.
We're going to take a look at what happened again with these guys. Let you know this segment sponsored by Evergreen Health Monroe. When your need for speed gets the best of you and you end up needing stitches or having bones set, Evergreen Health Monroe is your full-service community hospital ready to take care of you when you need them the most. Oof, intersection getting wild. More A main coming up next here on Home Track Heroes on the CW11. Thanks for joining us here on Home Track Heroes in the CW11. She's Mackenzie Dietz. I am Caleb Hart. We have got a Frank's Radio Outlaw Figure 8 main event on the track, fresh off of a pretty solid little intersection collision. Cars are going to be coming back to green flag action in just a matter of mere seconds, and we will let you guys know this segment brought to you by Blue Boy Golf and Event Center. Looking for the perfect location to host your wedding or special corporate event? Look no further than Blue Boy Golf and Event Center in Monroe. A beautiful 9-hole golf course with awesome mountain views makes it for a wonderful venue for your special day.
And right off the bat, you see Jillian still holding on to that number 1 position with Ricky Dietz right behind her. Zach Larson was trying to make a move on Ricky, didn't quite get there. Ricky was able to take it over with Zach right behind. And look, you have Chris Curtis, I believe that is, right behind him trying to make that third spot.
Yep, so Curtis in 4th as you're taking a look. Your top 4 trying to sneak away. And again, the intersection already starting to get active once again. Was that Holton working his way back onto the racetrack?
That was Powers
Okay.
actually coming back out from the pit. Looks like he had a right front flat from getting into it with Rick Jones in the intersection, but crew was able to make a tire change, and he's able to get back out there.
All right, well done for Powers, as right now he's going to be under the gun. Dietz is putting some pretty serious pressure on Lopato, and boy, Lopato looking a little squirrely coming through the corner. Hang on, Jillian. It might be Ricky Dietz time, as he's got a nice path to the inside, and you can see her having to just absolutely saw that steering wheel to keep the car under control. Dietz is going to grab the lead that time by.
Absolutely making moves. And, you know, you were talking earlier about him not being patient, and, you know, he's definitely one to make moves and to, you know, push somebody out of their way a little, or gently nudge them, you know, if he wants to make that move, and he made that work for him. And now you have Zach right behind Lopato trying to make the move, trying to get around her, whether, you know, trying to make a move on the inside, or he thought about going to the outside, so we'll see what happens there.
Well,
but good battle.
Yeah, it looks like Jillian settled the car down a little bit, and I don't know if that means she's being easier on the throttle coming through, and there goes the commentator's curse, jumping up and biting the Lopato 0. That one's on me. I am sorry, Team 0. My bad.
You know, prior to that, Jillian had a really good run going. You know, she's feeling more comfortable from what it looks like in that car, and based on some of the adjustments that they've been making and working on so far this season, she was making a move, holding Ricky off for, you know, that many laps.
I know Augie Vizzoni, Precision Traction Management, and the crew that's working on that car did a lot to kind of re-rig the cockpit and the way that thing is configured for Jillian to make it easier for her. As we're going to get a second look here at what just happened to the 0 coming off the corner. It was her and Larson battling for position. Let's go to the magical replay machine now and see it all in past tense. Into the turn they go. She's already coming around just a little bit, and a little bit of bumping happens in this figure 8 stuff all the time, right?
Yeah, it looks like there was just a little bit of a hole, and Zach was thinking about going to the inside, but there wasn't quite, you know, enough room there. You know, you see you have all that space in the tires, and it was just one of those things where, you know, he woed up, but it might have been just a little bit
too much. So this is going to pack him in for a restart coming here in the division. And tell me a little bit about restarts in the figure 8s, the Outlaws, the Super Stocks. It looks like it's a bump fest coming through as they all tightly pack in around this short little course that we have to run on.
You know, it definitely is, and it really depends on who you have up front, because every restart I feel like is a little bit different when you have somebody else leading it. Some people like to hit the brakes right before you hit the, you know, the gas to go. Some people like to carry, you know, the speed through the corner. So it's always fun, and, you know, just trying to shoot it out from the person that you're competing with.
Do you have a preference from being, I'm going to say inside lane, outside lane, but do you have a preference being in a certain lane going into a certain turn on a restart?
If we're coming to the green, I like to be on the outside of the north going to the inside of the south, because then you get that nice, you know, strong run going into that turn, and hopefully being able to make it and pass some of the cars, you know, going through the south. Or coming out of the south going into the north.
Gotcha. That way you can establish being on the inside of the corners going forward for positioning, as opposed to being strung out around the outside of the first corner that you're coming to, right?
Absolutely. And that's why a lot of the times with the Delaware restarts, you'll see, you know, that lead person kind of going into that inside outside, and then finally going to the inside of the south turn once the green comes.
Well, we're watching them stacked up and battling for third now. It is Chris Curtis in the 74 and Cowboy Carlson in the 50. And boy, those guys have had a lot of laps around this place next to each other, front to back for each other. Right now it is Carlson doing double duty this year all over the back of Curtis. Curtis, his first race of the 2023 season here at Evergreen, and right now doing his best to hold off the Cowboy and seeing if he can run down Larson as we're just beyond halfway here in the same main event.
And you know Curtis isn't going to make it easy for Cowboy. Those two have been racing together for years, and, Cowboy's going to give him his all and, try to work for that outside or inside position and wait for either Curtis to make a mistake and take full advantage of it, or he's going to try to get him to the outside.
Both of these drivers known for their to be sportsman-like drivers. You're not going to see either of them really thump each other super hard. Maybe a little tap here or there, but you're going to see some pretty good, clean racing between third and fourth as everybody's still chasing Ricky Dietz in the 676. Larson in second is a little ways back, and Dietz has got a little intersection action brewing. Be careful, Richard Shanebrook. Things starting to get a little bit close in the world's most dangerous intersection.
Yeah, things can happen like we saw earlier between Powers and Jones Jr. You never know what's going to happen, and everybody does something different through the intersection, and when they look to who they're going to go in front of and who you're going to go behind, and it can change in an instant.
Is there a right-of-way that's spoken about or actually talked about and adhered to amongst these drivers?
Not during the main event.
Anything
There is an
goes.
unsaid rule during practice that the driver's door has right-of-way, but during a main event, it's kind of
whoever can get through, right?
Yeah, you definitely want to have that common courtesy of, if you're a lapped car or behind and you have first through third coming at you, then, some people think that way as well. I don't know.
Yeah, you can say it. It's a main event. Even if you're running seventh, you're still going for it?
People are still going for it. I've been in last place and I'm still running the intersection. But at the end of the day, when it gets really close, if I have somebody that's in first, second or third in a podium position, typically I'll, let them go.
Okay.
So it depends. Each lap is different. And a lot of the times when you race with a lot of these competitors, who you can trust to run the intersection with and who you maybe want to woe up for.
How far ahead on the racetrack are you? Are you timing things out and running that as we're watching a battle between second, third, and fourth with Zach Larson, Chris Curtis, and John Carlson that's gotten very, very tight? If that's you in the second place position right now, Mackenzie, how far ahead of track are you watching?
A lot of the times I'm looking through the corners. I definitely want to see, ahead of me. But usually it's about apex out is when I'm looking across the track. And wow, that was a close intersection shot with Dakota Wilkinson, the number 25. But a lot of the times, I try to, and there he goes again, nothing like family love through the intersection. Just a little tap here and a tap there. But, this is a great point example, what we were talking about earlier. You have number one, Ricky Dietz, and you have Dakota Wilkinson trying to make moves, and he's not giving up. He's running the intersection, making it close, but, everybody has their own kind of thought process around that.
Interesting going as Dietz. Yeah, a couple of very narrow calls. One of many team cars out there as well. We see a lot of team racing that goes on in the Outlaw figure eights, and you told me an interesting tidbit earlier on the 71 of Holton that we haven't seen in screen for a little while, but he and his team really had to thrash on that car just to get it back out for the main event, right?
Yeah, they had some really they had quite a bit of trouble through practice earlier on today, and one of the things that I saw them working on was really just they had a whole transmission out, they had rear end issues that they had to fix and a whole clutch rebuild. So, got to hand it to them and that team just for, getting that car out there and seeing what it can do. And, it looks like Nick's having fun staying out there and not having any issues. So,
well, we're down to one lap to go, and this has gotten tighter on Ricky Dietz than I think he intended it to be, as Larson got closer to him thanks to a very busy intersection, some heavy traffic. But Dietz is going to maintain a comfortable enough advantage that off the North Pole the final time around, although Larson closed, couldn't do anything with it, and Dietz takes the win. Larson 2, Curtis 3, Carlson will be 4, and to 5, I think Corbett still ended up sneaking that thing out, albeit there were a lot of slower traffic that Ricky Dietz put down. So we'll get a chance to talk to family of yours down trackside of the Angel Winds Casino Resort Podium, along with the rest of the top 3 in the Outlaw figure eights.
Well, Chris, the first question, I think you know it. Who's up here with you?
This is my grandson, Kingston, right here. My favorite little boy. He's an awesome kid.
You drove that number 74 well. First time out here at Evergreen Speedway this season. Looking forward to being out here more?
Yeah, looking forward out here till probably about July, and then car's going to start leaving back east, and we're going to do some racing over there. But I'll be here every other race that I can as long as the car's here, and looking forward to it. I have a lot of fun racing with these guys out here, you know. I'll tell you what, I got last year's tires on right now, so these guys better watch out when I get some new tires on this thing. I got some grip, so hopefully we can get some the next time out and make this happen, get a better finish out of this.
Who would you like to thank for the third place tonight?
I got to thank Vitz and Erica Hurtado in memory of Bulldog Haven, Bud Barton's Glass, Thermotech Powder Coating, Ibach. Yeah, they're all right here. But anyway, got to thank everybody. Got to thank all these fans for coming out. It's cold tonight. We appreciate you guys coming out and letting us put on a show for you guys. Good thing the weather held out for us.
Driver of the 74, Chris Curtis. Welcome back up here, Zach. Second place, second time this season. What more do you think you need to get around that 676?
You know, we just got to keep working on the car and just try to get a good line on the start, and hopefully we can get them one of these weekends.
Race real well. What role does lap traffic play in those closing laps?
There's no rule. They can do what they want. Some of them are nice and kind of let you by. Some of them will just stay their groove and run the intersection, whatever else, and that's fine with them, but what comes around goes around.
Who would you like to thank for second place tonight?
First, I want to say sorry to Julian out in the zero. I kind of got her into her, got her around. I didn't want to do that. I got to thank Brunchbone Concrete Pumping, Tech Equipment, and Gunderson Speed Shop for all their help getting here.
Driver the number 83G, Zach Larson, took that Tire Pros machine back to victory lane once again. Second time this season. What is the secret behind the 676?
I don't think there's really any secret, really honestly. I'm not doing anything different than anybody else. It's just I've been doing it a long time, and it is a good car, and I got an excellent crew, great sponsors, and the good Lord above with some luck. But I want to thank all you fans for coming out here, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be out here doing this, and I really love doing this. And I hope I can put a show on for you guys each and every week. If I can't win, I'll probably crash out trying, and you guys probably enjoy that too.
Who would you like to thank for your performance out here tonight?
First off, your fans, thank you. Evergreen Speedway, Hobbs, High Roads Promotion, everybody that's employed here. Tire Pros, the shop of Arlington, Simmons Garage, which is Tire Pros in Clinton, A1 Auto Service, J2 Racing, Paul Peterson, Jamie Corbett, my brother, I race with him, Bobby Black, my girlfriend, Katie Jensen, for making my tires look nice and dealing with my crap, doing this all the time. And but mostly you fans, thank you.
Driver of the 676, second win of the season, Ricky Dietz.
Appreciate y'all tuning in. Another episode of Home Track Heroes here on CW11. Thanks for spending your Sunday night with us. My name is Caleb Hart. That is Mackenzie Dietz. We go back to the circle track action now. We make for little baby race cars, 4 cylinders once again, as the BECU mini stocks hit the track. Week number 1 was an adventure, to say the least, Mackenzie. Is 4 cylinders, short little wheelbase, lots of power in these things, and we put them in the rain. Tonight, mercifully, it's dry for them. Thank goodness.
Absolutely. I'm glad that they get a dry race tonight.
Yeah, but at the same time, they get a dry race tonight. We won't have them go skittering through the infield and hanging out in the green grass for no reason. So let's get you a look at this well-balanced and talented field front row. That is the 18 of Brooklyn Bender. Bender in the PRCBD-sponsored 18 car. And next to her, Gavin Ballou. Reardon Engines, Cole Reardon sponsors car number 12.
And in the second row, you have the number 2, Michael Fritz, sponsored by Crooks and Kings Barber Company. And on the outside, you have number 23, Ellie Musgrave, sponsored by Team Nelson Earthworks Utilities and Concrete.
Row number 3, the guy that we're going to start calling Mr. Excitement when there's a rain race out there. It's Jimmy Absher in the 26, Absher Build LLC. Next to him, first-time feature winner. 2 weeks ago, it's the Simon & Son towing number 16 of Travis Woodward.
And in the fourth row, you have the 221 of Lyndon Smith, also sponsored by the PRCBD.com. And on the outside, you have the 27 of Jason Ingbaum, sponsored by Erickson Real Estate, Snohomish, Washington.
The fifth row, Randy Dittmers, ATR Andrews Truck Repair, car number 61. Next to him, it's Ronnie Absher in the U.S. Seafood 72, with Austin Kramer hanging out, tail end Charlie in the 11th position. His sponsor, the Village Tap House and Grill. So 2 weeks ago, utter chaos here on Home Track Heroes in this BECU mini stock main event. It had a bunch of different leaders. It had a bunch of different people up front. Lyndon Smith was up there for a while. Jimmy Absher was driving like he was on a dirt track. A bunch of guys went all the way to the back and came all the way back forward. And in the end, it was Travis Woodward picking up his first feature win, which is awesome for Travis. One of the truly nice, likable dudes in the pit area who would get the shirt off his back to help you out if you needed it. Tonight, they all re-rack and restack, and we'll try it one more time with a young but good front row of Bender and Ballou. And the big thing in the mini stocks this year is that this division has been dominated for such a long time by Lane Sunholm. So this year, it's anybody's game any week, anytime anyone unloads. You never know who's going to be up front.
Absolutely, and it looks like we're going to start off with an in-car with Ellie Musgrave.
So Ellie got the lit-up gauge panel, or manual-style gauges with some lighting going on there so she can keep track of them as they come through. Ellie starting on the outside of row number 2. They'll accelerate and will go to green as she follows Ballou into turn number 1 and 2. And got a car to her inside, making it difficult for her as well. Looks like Bender out to the early lead.
Yeah, and you can see with the in-car, I mean, it looks like she has just a lot of room, and you can see her arms moving and, you know, the wheel moving to try to get the car to do what it wants to do and hold its line and put it where she wants it. So definitely has that space in there to make some, you know, movements with her arms and get that wheel to turn.
She's got the elbows up in that thing. Now, a lot of wheel input typically means you're fighting the race car a little bit more. Calmer the hands, it seems like the straighter the line you can stay in the car. We'll see if we get another look at her a little bit later on, as she sure is fighting on the outside for that spot. Michael Fritz on the inside making it awfully difficult on her. Fritz down low. Musgrave on the inside. That's the battle for third. Lyndon Smith's already worked his way up into fifth in the 221. Meanwhile, we've already got slower traffic in play here. It's hanging out down in turn number 1. It's Bender coming up on the slower car, and Ballou going to try to swing to the outside to take that spot away from Brooklyn. Side by side, slower traffic looms, and Ballou's going to almost use that slower car as a pick. Although Brooklyn might have lifted, she'll get into the back of it, and we've got a new leader. It's Gavin Ballou using traffic to his advantage.
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, that's the gamble with running through some traffic, is you never know which way you're going to come out of it. And now you see him going 3 wide in the back stretch and just all piled up right there.
Oh, yeah, the wild man, Jimmy Absher, going all the way to the top shelf. Took a couple there in 1 and 2. Now he's working for third, although Lyndon Smith says, not so fast, my friend. Makes a big run to the inside, makes it tough on Absher. Absher's got third. Smith going to pull into fourth, and now to the inside. Those two went to war a couple of weeks ago, and they're after it for third here early in this BECU mini stock feature.
Absolutely, and you see Ballou and Musgrave just up there, you know, few car lengths ahead of 3 and 4, and wondering if, Smith and Absher are going to be able to get up there.
Now, the longer they race each other, the better it ends up being for Ballou and Musgrave, but Smith actually dispatched at Absher relatively quickly and is on the hunt for Musgrave. So Ellie Musgrave in the 23 with the, would you say that's green? Yeah, green and yellow 221 of Lyndon Smith. And boy, Lyndon's on the march. That car looking fast early in this main event. He's got second place just 8 laps into this after starting in 7th.
Absolutely, and you see Jimmy Absher and Michael Fritz right behind him, you know, trying to make moves and catch up.
So, in-car from Lyndon Smith. Somebody clean off that GoPro, would you please? I mean, just a little
yeah, is that just a lot of that oil and track dry?
It could very well be. I don't know. I never ran a GoPro on my stuff because I was broke and, cheap.
Well,
that's why
combination. That's why we have Brandy Hood Promotions to help us out. You know, Brandy Chavez has been absolutely amazing and does a lot of this work. You know, a lot of the things that we don't see outside of, these GoPros is a lot of her running around the pits, turning cameras on, and all the kind of back end work that she does to get these prepared for tonight's show.
Well, right now the shot from Brandy Hood is showing us Lyndon Smith driving to the inside of Gavin Ballou and taking the lead over, entering turn number 3. You can see it in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. He is clear down low, and Lyndon Smith, looking for his first mini stock win, is already into the top spot, 11 laps into this and 19 left. Now the question is going to be, how far can Lyndon get out and cruise on this feature? You know what we need to do with the camera screen? We need to take it to Sparkle Wash. Sparkle Wash, Puget Sound, your source for residential and commercial power washing. Okay, that might be a little strong. Services for over 55 years. Their technicians can handle it all. No project too big or too small. Log on to sparklewash.com and schedule a complimentary quote. Sparkle Wash, Puget Sound. It said no job too small. They could do it, GoPro, I'm sure.
You know, well, it makes me wonder if the windshield is similar to that. I mean, that would be definitely difficult to try to drive through, especially in the dark with the lights from the crowd kind of reflecting off of the windshield.
So talk about perspective on that, because we did see a lot of glare coming through into turn number 3, and from what you have to see, albeit on the short course, it can get a little difficult at night with the bright, beautiful lights we have here at Evergreen Speedway shining down on you.
It definitely can, and in this case for this track, you know, entering 3 is not so bad, but coming out of 4 is, you know, really where you're going to get that glare, and especially with some of the darker cars, you know, it can be difficult to see them if you have that bright glare right there.
Well, Lyndon Smith doing a really good job of navigating slower traffic. He cut through about 3 slower cars there, lickety-split. Gavin Ballou tasked with trying to follow him, and he is just losing more ground at the halfway point to your race leader. It is Smith, the green and yellow 221. As he crosses the start-finish line now, that is Ballou in the red, white, and blue, number 12, who was just entering your picture as Smith arced the car into turn number 1. And somewhere way back there is Ellie Musgrave with a pretty good run going in 3rd. I think, dare say, that'd be a career best for her in this division as well.
You know, and Ellie, I've been watching Ellie for a few years now, and, you know, she's definitely picking this up, and she's in a new car, from what I understand in the last few years, okay. I think. I want to say, you know, she's definitely somebody who's also been in a lot of different, you know, race cars and different classes. So it's really nice to see her doing well and holding on to that 3rd spot with Jimmy right behind her.
Well, as we said that, Michael Fritz, the 2 car, overtook her for 3rd. Now Musgrave is trying to come back at her. She cut that corner real short and makes the run on Fritz, who Fritz is up on the back of Jason Engbaum. Engbaum this year driving the car that his wife Tiffany was in last season. Fritz up and around the outside, clears. Musgrave going to have to try to do the same thing, and Jimmy Absher in 5th, always looking for position. He will sneak that car down low, and you know, the way they have the Absher car built, it almost looks like a truck in the way that it contours. There's a good look at the cockpit again with Musgrave on the inside and Absher on the outside. And again, watch the hands. Hands can tell you a whole heck of a lot. You can see them at corner entry. Both of them really giving a lot of steering wheel saw and input. So, you know, both of them would like that car to be either a little tighter, a little looser, whatever their specifications go. But interesting little discrepancy between the two as we watch them race each other and going in through the turns. 9 laps left. Lyndon Smith, Gavin Ballou, 1 and 2. That is 3rd, 4th, and 5th that we have in screen here in the BECU mini stocks. And it looks like Musgrave did a good job through the middle of that turn, closing in on your 3rd place car of Michael Fritz, although the car unloaded on her and unhooked off the corner. You saw her having to swim it back straight going down the front chute.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely making some moves and trying to catch him. And then you have Jimmy Absher just, you know, I mean, he's closing it in the corners. You know, it seems like she kind of takes off and gets a little bit further ahead during the straightaways, but he's able to reel her in the corners. So really interesting to see, you know, these two kind of get close and yo-yo back and forth, if you will, to see, you know, who's going to end up in that spot.
Well, Lyndon Smith is the one we're watching right now, and he is dominating this. Gavin Ballou, your 2nd place car in that red and white number 12 down the back straightaway, hanging out by himself. Just chilling. Nobody in front of him. Really close, although he's trying to roll down Lyndon. Those 3 behind him are a long ways back because we're down to 5 laps to go, and you can see it's a whole straightaway between Ballou and Fritz. As Fritz now working outside and shuffling back Randy Dittmers. We'll put him another lap behind, or at least another position within that lap behind. As we are counting the time here on this one now for 4th, 5th, and 6th. It looks like Woodward is coming into screen, and you just saw what I saw at the same time. Musgrave had lost a lot of speed coming off that turn.
Yeah, I don't know if it just locked up or what was going on, but definitely a lot of smoke coming out of that rear end coming out of 4.
You saw her drive side tires were right in the oil slick, right down where the speedy dry came down. Now, I don't know if she just had to back out of the throttle because it got too loose on her, but she's rebounding now. She's found the car speed again, and she's going to bring Woodward with her. So Musgrave had lost a spot, picks it back up from Absher, and Woodward picking up 5th from Jimmy as well. Long run here, long green flag run here for the BEC mini stocks. Usually we'll see a caution or 2 to give them a rest and a break, but this one just steamrolling towards its conclusion. Lyndon Smith taking the white flag, and one more time around for him in what's been a pretty dominant performance.
Yeah, and you have Blue and Fritz behind him, and you're coming up to the checkered flag, and he's definitely had a dominant performance through this race, and just watching him has been awesome.
Like he was playing Mario Brothers on easy mode. Lyndon Smith takes the W ahead of Gavin Ballou, who will run 2nd, and then wait for it, Michael Fritz. Let's go down to the Angel of the Winds Casino Resort podium.
Michael, at the start there, you lost 1 or 2 spots, but managed to work your way back up through. Good battle with Jimmy Absher there in the 26 car, and getting that track position back. How important was that, and how did you narrow in and get back in the zone?
It was really about putting my head down and trying to figure out the best line, the best grip. The start was a little slow. Paisley did amazing, though. I mean, she held her own. She got to the lead, so I was just trying to follow. And hopefully not to lose too many positions, but we were able to get them back, so that's all that really matters, yeah.
It seemed like the thing really picked up as the run went on as well.
It did. Once the tires heated up in this cold, it's a little hard to do that, but as soon as they picked up, we were lights out a little bit. So, it was good. It was a good run, and congratulations to everybody. Clean race, and congrats to Gavin, 2nd place. Nice job, man.
I'd like to thank sponsors and supporters you got with the 2 camp.
Absolutely. I couldn't do any of this without them. Crooks and Kings, Barber Co., Tacoma Auto Glass, El Bajon Seattle, Jandy's, and H2 Engineering. Thank you all. Without you, this is not possible, and let's get some more.
Michael Fritz, strong 3rd place run in the 2 car. Nicely done. Gavin, you managed to get out in front there and lead early on. Unfortunately, Lyndon just had a little bit too much there in the 221.
Yeah, I don't know. That hit with the 661 screwed up something in the front end, but it doesn't matter. I'm on the podium this week again. Yeah, I'm just so hyped. I got to thank my dad. He puts hard work into this car all day, all night while I'm working. Like, this means the most. And it was his birthday this last week, so getting it on the podium is his birthday present. So, happy birthday. Sponsors I'd like to thank, Trans Labs, Corridon Engines, and my father again. I mean, he put me in this position.
First race in that car, it was in the rain. I'm swapping from 4 years of front wheel drive, so it's been a big change for me. So overall, I'm feeling really good tonight.
Of course, the difference here, of course, there are front-wheel drive cars in the BECU mini stocks. You're driving a rear-wheel drive car. What is some of the main differences trying to transition between the 2?
I mean, overall, you drive the front-wheel drive cars a lot harder in. You drive the rear-wheel drive cars a lot harder out. I mean, that's the big difference. It's how you take the corner. It's how you get on the throttle.
I'd like to thank the sponsors that help get this Mustang out here every weekend.
Well, first, I got to thank all the beautiful fans for coming out here, cheering us on, making it so I want to do this. I got to thank PRCBD, Bosworth Towing and Grading, Brandonville.com, John Bender, Wayne, Bill Hunt, and just everybody who's helped me get the car tonight, beginning of the season, everything. I got to thank everybody.
Lyndon Smith, your main event winner tonight in the BECU mini stocks. Nicely done, Lyndon.
Well, it feels like this show has just steamrolled by, but we've got one more segment to go here on Home Track Heroes in the CW11. Let's go back to the figure eights. Mackenzie Dietz, my co-host for the week, and your area of expertise, although it's the little baby cars that are going on. It's the 4-cylinders coming up, huh? This will be good.
Absolutely. I'm excited to watch.
Now, there's a car that runs out of your camp competing in this one, right?
Yep. Yeah, the 46 of Michael Hathaway.
Okay, so I want you to know it is perfectly okay to be a biased, rooting commentator here. We're just having fun. That's what we're doing. And there it is. Hathaway comes out. He's got the pole for this guy. So it is Mike Hathaway, the rep in welding and rail, number 46. And next to him, it's Cody Weldon, the 151, sponsored by All Ply Roofing.
In the second row, you have the 18J of Jackson Beckel, sharp-looking black car with the white lettering, sponsored by JBR Racing. On the outside, you have the 102 of Randy Moffitt, sponsored by the B&R Drywall.
Row number 3 is Talon Kolar, Ray's Espresso of Machias, sponsors the 19. Next to him is the 4 of Ron Powers, unsponsored.
And in the fourth row, you have the 40 of Andrew Reinders, sponsored by the Whidbey Donuts. And on the outside, you have the 78 of Kyle Shukar.
Row after them is Michaela Larson. Car number 57 is sponsored by her dad. Next to him, 43 of Damon Claiborne in the Abendroth Equine, developing the horse and rider, number 43.
And I'm going to just say her dad's Paul Peterson. Great person. Great person.
Good to know.
And on the row behind her, you have the 49 of Calvin Miller, sponsored by Northwest Poly Services out of Marysville, Washington. And on the outside, you have the 16 of Peyton Hopp, sponsored by Papas and Monroe.
Derek Myers, tail end Charlie on this. The Bulldog Haven Northwest, sponsored at number 73. 1 to go signal is given. We already saw Calvin Miller win earlier today in the Hornet division. Now Buzz In, Steakhouse, Stinger 8s. They're all thinking, I need the money, I need the trophy, and then I'm making a trip to the Buzz because, yeah, it might be Meatloaf night. I don't know.
It might be. Maybe they just need a buzz.
Oh, that would work out good. So here we go. 30 times around for the 4-cylinders. Hathaway and Weldon leading them on down. And this division is always a shootout. It never seems like you end up with a snooze fest here. So anything can happen. Hathaway out to the really nice start. Green is out and following him right through his Beckel in the 18J. 1 and 2. Oh, well, we've got contact already. The 151 of Weldon. Look out. That hood's going to need some serious straightening in the off week.
Yeah, it looks like he got that tire, but let's watch the replay and see what happens. I mean, anything can happen going into these turns, and when you got a lot of people pushing and trying to get that spot, I mean, let's take a look and see what happens.
Okay, so you're telling me that early on, okay, we're going to get the in-car from Peyton Hopp here. And Peyton, how much does he see?
You can only see it in the top right, so now we'll get a better look at it.
Damon Claiborne, who is, brave enough to run without a hood, goes in and through. Let's get a look from the up top shop. Oh, wow, they're 3 wide.
Oh.
Wow. That poor innocent Uke tire just got mangled.
Yeah, and Damon Claiborne and Mike Hathaway actually got into it in practice today, so that might be why the hood's not on it.
Oh, okay. Interesting to see. Well, we'll keep our eyes on that. Lap number 1, not even done. They're going to double them back up. We'll go into a restart action. That must mean that there was a lot of fixing going on at the pit area earlier, huh?
Yeah, Mike was fixing his car, the driver's side door, and Claiborne's front bumper and his hood. So, it looks like they both were able to make it out, and we're okay.
All right, so let's go back to the track. Let's try this again, 2x2, and this time it's Beckel on the inside of Hathaway. And Hathaway is going to have that, like you said earlier, the undesirable starting spot. He's going to be on the inside coming through the North Pole. And again, you prefer the outside of that. If you're on the inside of it, what do you got to do? You really just got to jump that start a little bit to try to get to the inside of the South, or what?
Yeah, I mean, when you're in the spot that Jackson's in, I mean, he has the perfect position, in my opinion. That's the position that I would want to have, go into the green, is you see him coming out of the outside, and Mike's taking that initial kind of coming ahead of Jackson, but then you see Jackson coming into the South, and now he's pulling away. So now he has that kind of first position, and Michael kind of fell back a little bit.
If you're on the spot where Michael was, do you think you would have let Jackson accelerate a little bit even further into the corner and try to duck even faster into second to try to follow him around the inside of the South Pole?
I mean, I wouldn't let him do nothing. I'm just kidding. But no, I mean, what you want to do is when you're on the outside like he was, is you definitely want to drive it in a lot further. Jackson has that inside groove, but he doesn't have the ability to drive it in as hard. If he does, 8 tires, 4 tires, typically happens. But you have that ability on the outside groove to drive it in a little bit harder and drive it around.
Oh, Mike just got tagged coming in through that corner as in and behind him. I'm trying to pick up the car number.
The 19 of Kohler.
Okay, so Kolar is the one who's in the back and really letting Mike know that his bumpers are going to have to hold up over the course of this. So far, so good, though. So Hathaway in second and Kolar all over him with fourth and fifth tucked in behind. I think that's it's not Claiborne in fourth. That is 78. That's Shukar. Okay. And then Claiborne's got the little baby numbers because I made fun of him for that 2 weeks ago. Sitting in the fifth position. And no hood. That's right. He did swear to me that he was going to get bigger numbers on, that he actually has graphics coming, but for the time being, it's Damon and his baby numbers in fifth. Rolling through the South Pole, already 4 down, and man, Jackson Beckel's got to be loving life. He's got a ton of room, but it's also going to bring up that intersection relatively fast on him.
Absolutely. I mean, he's going to get caught up to the back of the pack here pretty quick, and I mean, you see that Hathaway and Shukar and the baby numbers doing really, I mean, trying to just bumper to tail to bumper and just trying to, you know, make some moves. And it looks like Shukar's going to give Mike the bumper and try to move him out of his way.
Complete with the neon on the front of the Shukar car as he's up on Hathaway and his stuffed animal companion hanging out the right side of the window. Claiborne's sitting fourth at the moment. Everybody's chasing Jackson Beckel, but Beckel's not even in screen as we're 6 in, 24 to go here for the Buzz In Steakhouse Stinger 8s. And there is Shukar. Path opens up a little. Bumper tag coming through the corner. Might have been unintentional that time is the way it sequenced out. Now into the South Pole. Hathaway, Shukar, and Claiborne. What a good battle for 2, 3, and 4. And Shukar's going to try to line up the outside. At least looks like he thought about it, then brought her back into line as he tucked back in on the north.
Yeah, I bet Mike's sitting in, you know, in that position trying to hold off Shukar. Really thankful for those Rep and Welding bumpers, just making sure that they, you know, stay on and stay strong and intact. You know, that's definitely a lot of contact going into these corners with this class. And, you know, some people are trying to pass on the outside, like you see Rangers right now doing to the 19 car. And, you know, some people try to move them out of the way.
I mean, you know that guy who does that welding, that Rep and Welding. Seems like a good guy.
Absolutely.
Off the South Pole we go, and again, a very physical battle between Hathaway and Shukar. Developing for second, Shukar again peeking outside, carrying around the corner. Hathaway with a preferred line inside of the turn, and you can see him quickly try to tuck it back into the inside of the South Pole. That's allowing Claiborne to get racy in and behind him. So Damon Claiborne seeing if he can beat Shukar to the inside of the north. Can't do it that time. This is second, third, and fourth, and it has been a humdinger of a race here as they have gone side by side, nose to tail, all kinds of contact between them for about 10 laps now. Jackson Beckel, your leader in the black and white 18, as he's just navigating things easy. But all the action has been right here for second with Mike Hathaway under the gun big time from Kyle Shukar and Damon Claiborne.
And right behind them, you see Michaela Larson, who started towards the back of the pack. And, I mean, now she's up to 5th place, right behind trying to catch up to Claiborne. And, you know, that 3-pack of cars, bumper to tail. And maybe with them slowing down so much going into the corner, and there she is. She's being able to catch back up and try to get that pack of cars. And there's Shukar moving Mike out of his way.
Oh, no. Well, interesting. You know, in the sports world, we call that ball don't lie. As the hood comes up on Shukar, and yet he's still driving. He's still making his way through. How in the world are you doing this right? Okay, now he's not. But still, that was crazy.
He's pulling off.
Huh. Well, didn't have that on my bingo card.
Well, and that gives Mike the opportunity to take it back. And, there's Michaela Larson. Something happened going on there. Gets it restarted. And looks like she's going to continue to keep it green. Nope.
Yep, we've got yellow.
I think they threw the yellow.
Yep. So you saw Hathaway slow up coming into the screen. Let's take a look and see it from Calvin Miller's perspective, what he saw coming through. Into the corner they go, and out around, beautiful, nearly 720 spin there out of Larson. Now from Hathaway, and there's the hood pins flying up out of the Shukar car as he goes into evasive maneuvers quickly. Hathaway following him around in and through the intersection. Shukar, I'll give him credit, he drove more of the course than I would have with the hood up right in front of his face. But now that's going to pack the field back together, and Jackson Beckel's gigantic lead that he had developed all 100% gone. Now Hathaway doesn't have to worry about shoe car behind him, but he's got the very fast David Claiborne right there as well.
Absolutely. I mean, Mike's definitely going to have to be on his game throughout these turns and for the rest of these laps. I mean, you have two really good drivers that, are not scared to make some moves and to use a little bumper.
From Beckel's perspective, that's going to get him out of the intersection, at least for a little bit, as they go Delaware style 2x2 in behind him. Beckel comes to the restart. This segment brought to you by the Buzz Inn Steakhouse, serving hand-cut Angus steaks, breakfast all day, and mouth-watering burgers. Visit one of their 13 locations. The Buzz Inn Steakhouse, proud sponsor of the Stinger 8s.
And you see Calvin Miller coming out after that restart, going to the inside and pushing Mike out a little bit wide and being able to tuck right behind Claiborne, in the second position right behind Jackson Beckel.
You saw, we say that. We've talked a couple of times, figure eight racing's a little bit physical. Where's the line drawn on that one between a bump and a move, would you say? You can defer on this one and go, hey, people, make your own judgment.
I defer. I think people should make their own judgment. There definitely is a line, but I think everybody has a different level of where that line may be.
And so long as you're comfortable with people racing you the way you race them, I would say that's all fair, right?
And that's how I race.
Perfect.
That's where my line is.
Well, Claiborne is now putting the front bumper to the back of the 18 of Jackson Beckel. So Beckel, that caution flag was bad news for him as we're just over the halfway point. In fact, 17 in, 13 to go. It is Jackson Beckel, Damon Claiborne in his baby numbers, and now Calvin Miller sitting in position number 3, and those three tightly packed for those top 3 spots here in the podium for the Buzz Inn Steakhouse Stinger 8s. Hathaway going to hang out in 4th now, and that's Peyton Hopp, former Hornet Division champion, all over the back of him trying to move forward.
Absolutely, and there's a good battle there, but you have 1, 2, and 3 about 6 car lengths ahead. It's a really good battle there, and then you have a great battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th as well.
You figure with the pace that those three are putting on, they should be seeing some intersection action really soon, although the back of that field is staying really close to that 4, 5, 6 battle. So 1 through 3 kind of in a league of their own, and then 4 through everybody else kind of on pace within the division.
Absolutely. I would say maybe in the next 2 laps or so, you might get a little bit of that that traffic that you were talking about earlier. It seems like right now there's not so much traffic, so it's just a lot of battling and for different positions. You got the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and then you have, the following kind of club of cards after that.
So would you rather be in the top spot and have the pressure of having to be the first one leading through the intersection, everybody on your rear, or would you rather be in Claiborne's position where you're on attack mode the whole way through?
I would rather be in Claiborne or Miller's position. I think that for me, I really enjoy, starting from the back and working my way through the field. I definitely drive a little bit faster when I have somebody to chase down. If I was in Jackson's position, I would definitely be driving as hard as I can, but I'm a little bit more encouraged to chase somebody down in this case.
All right. So you're driving aggressively, trying to catch the back of the pack and give you somebody to mark off of, right? Okay, I'm closing at this point, not necessarily worrying what's in your rearview mirror or the spotters are telling you that's coming.
I actually don't have mirrors, and so I
Smart.
can't see what's behind me, and I don't run spotters. So I like to chase people down. That's my niche, if you will.
I am into it. That works for me. For 5th, Render's working his way past Hop, or trying to work his way past Hop. Hop's got the advantageous spot going into the corners. We're down to 6 to go, and boy, Calvin Miller and David Claiborne are not making this easy on Jackson Beckel. Beckel just trying to hit his marks and keep the car underneath him going through. Intersection still not a problem for him, as we're down to the final 5 laps of our night, and you can see he's got a ways. Meanwhile, car around Talon Kolar goes spinning, and Derek Meyer is going to nose into the front of him. Right now, we're still green as everybody's limping through, and we will stay green. So your leader will have slower traffic a little bit closer ahead of him, and that's going to stretch the field out. You wonder if he's going to see some intersection. There's a car crossing in front of him by a little ways, and Claiborne just wearing out the rear bumper cover coming in through the turn.
Yeah, I mean, if I was just sitting in Jackson Beckel's spot, is just trying to hold my line, make moves, but also try to hold off and be on the defense,
Right.
making sure that Damon Claiborne doesn't come around, try to pass him on the outside. He's watching his inside. So really trying to protect all sides. And, he almost hits the number 4 of Ron Powers, who was stopped at the intersection. And that's something in this class that you have to worry about. You have people that stop at the intersection and, may not go through, and so you really have that potential of getting woed up with 2-3 cars behind you.
Other than having to jam on the binders real quick to avoid plowing into the 4 of Powers, that lap sequence of cars actually sequence out nicely for Beckel as he was able to keep his speed and just go by. Meanwhile, one more time around, so Beckel, he's navigated the hard part. Let's see if he can make one more pass to the most dangerous intersection in the world. He'll come off the turn. There are some cars imminent. He'll get through. One more shot into the corner. Bumper tag through, but Jackson Beckel is going to hold on for the W ahead of Damon Claiborne and Calvin Miller. Fun race.
And it looks like there was some intersection shots there too.
Well, let's talk about it down at the Angel of the Winds Casino Resort podium.
For the caution that kind of got us caught back up. I didn't know Calvin was coming as hard as he was. He was really fast tonight, and between Jackson in front of me and Calvin behind me, that was a pretty exciting race. Like a lot of bumping, a lot of rubbing, and I don't know. It was just a good old figure 8 race. So I'm happy to finish second. Jackson drove a great race. Calvin drove a great race getting up there, and I have no problem with how that race went. It was fun.
Had to be pretty intense, though, when you get in those situations there, trying to hold on and make sure you don't slip off the bottom.
Right, and, it's kind of a pinball effect, and I was trying everything I could to not just pile the person in front of me, and there was a couple of times I got into Jackson pretty hard, and it was not intentional to hit him that hard. There was one time, I'll be honest, I was looking in my rearview mirror, and next thing I know, we're coming into the corner, and I slammed him really hard, and I felt really bad about that, so I apologize to him for that right now. I wasn't trying to take him out, wasn't trying to hit him super hard. It's just, it happened.
A lot of dragging the brake in that situation.
I could have done that for another 50 laps. I love that kind of racing, and that's kind of what figure 8 started as, and what really good figure 8 racing looks like is bumper to bumper, nose to tail, just, rubbing, bumping, and, as long as no one's getting dumped, I'm having a good time.
Like to thank all the supporters you got with the 43 camp.
Just one, and number one lady in my life and her business, Abendroth Equine, developing the horse and rider. Huge thanks to her and all her support, and both business and personal. Thanks to all my buddies that came out tonight to watch. That's pretty cool to see all those guys out here, and thanks to the GN Northwest and the Hornets Nest guys. My best buddy Steven, he was in the garage with me every night before the first race, thrashing to get the car ready. So I really appreciate all the help from him and family and everybody else that was involved.
Damon Claiborne's second place run tonight in car number 43. Nicely done, David. Jackson, back in your own car now for this weekend, but still the same result. I know qualifying probably didn't go the way you wanted, but looks like you got this thing tuned up for the main.
I was kind of running weird earlier in the day, and then qualifying slipped off the brake pedal and hit the clutch. Not the way I wanted to qualify, but I guess it got me here.
Of course, getting out front had to help. You had track position right up until that yellow flag. How much were you kind of dreading that restart?
Once I saw Damon behind me, I was like, oh, I got to go here. And then the intersection really helped me out towards there. I don't really know.
Always good when you can wind up here. I'd like to thank sponsors on the 18.
PRCBD, JBR Racing, Napa Auto Parts, Central Welding, Genesis Heating and Cooling and HVAC, and Proliance.
Jackson Beckel makes it 2 for 2 in the Stingers in car number 18 for the 2023 season. Nicely done, Jackson.
Well, what a great way to finish off Home Track Heroes here on the CW11. Killer final segment, couple of segments of figure 8s, and a great late model race on top of some other stuff as well. So we had a lot of fun here in this episode. Thank you guys for joining us. Caleb Hart, Mackenzie Dietz. You have a good time, Mackenzie?
I did. This was a lot of fun.
See,
Thank you
not nearly as hard as you thought it was going to be. Huh?
No, I was definitely really nervous.
No, it's just cars making left-hand and sometimes right-hand turns and then running into each other, and, well, all kinds of shenanigans happen. We didn't even have a fist fight. We didn't even have a car explode. We didn't even have anybody jumping or doing anything silly like that. But next week here on Home Track Heroes, we might. I can't promise that. It is going to be DriftCon and the big bounty tournament. So if you've never seen drifting at Evergreen Speedway, we're going to have it for you here next Sunday night, 5 o'clock. Make your plans to be with us for the big bounty tournament here on the CW11. Your next chance to be at Evergreen Speedway in person is coming up April 29th. First opportunity to see the Granite Sprint cars here on the year. We're also going to have street stocks, super stock figure eights with Mackenzie in action, Youth Hornets and Legends. 2 weeks from that, it's going to be the late models are coming back, Outlaw figure eights, mini stocks, Stingers, and Hornets. It's going to be a great couple of weeks of show. Mackenzie, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And good luck on the next time that everybody will be in the grandstands and able to see you. For everybody here on our show, everybody who helps produce Home Track Heroes on the CW11, from the camera crew, the producers, the engineers, etc., we appreciate you being here. My name is Caleb Hart. She is Mackenzie Dietz. And we hope you'll tune in next Sunday night, 5 o'clock, for Home Track Heroes on the CW11. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for watching Evergreen Speedway's Home Track Heroes on CW11. Join us next week for more great racing from Evergreen Speedway.